The Force connects all living things, binding the galaxy in an energy field that transcends physical reality. But sometimes, something arrives from beyond the Force's reach, something that operates on different principles, carries different wisdom, and sees truths that Force users have grown blind to through centuries of tradition. T'Challa, King of Wakanda, Black Panther and protector of his people, fell through dimensional barriers with the grace of someone trained to adapt to any situation. The vibranium meteorite had pulsed with energy the moment he'd touched it, recognizing genetic markers that shouldn't exist in this timeline, and activated a recall function programmed millennia ago by Wakandan explorers who'd somehow crossed into this galaxy. The transit lasted seconds that felt like hours, reality compressing and expanding simultaneously, dimensions folding like paper, until T'Challa emerged into existence above Coruscant's cityscape with barely time to orient himself before gravity reasserted its claim. He didn't panic. Kings didn't panic. His Black Panther suit activated instinctively, vibranium weave redistributing the kinetic energy of his fall as he dropped 3,000 meters toward the planet-wide city below. His enhanced reflexes let him twist mid-air, his claws extending to catch building facades, slowing his descent through controlled friction that would have shredded normal materials but barely marked vibranium. He landed on a Senate District rooftop with predatory grace, his suit's sensors immediately beginning analysis of this new environment. The air composition was compatible with human respiration. Good. Gravity was standard, manageable. Technology level was extraordinary. Flying vehicles filled the sky in organized streams. Holographic advertisements covered buildings in languages his kimoyo beads were already working to translate, and the sheer scale of urban development suggested a civilization that had mastered space travel for millennia. But underneath the technological wonder, T'Challa's enhanced senses detected something else. Fear, tension, the subtle signs of a society under strain, like Wakanda during the brief period when Killmonger had seized the throne. Order maintained through force, smiles that didn't reach eyes, security presence that spoke of control rather than protection. Griot. T'Challa spoke to his AI assistant, integrated into his kimoyo beads. Analyze all available data. Where are we? Scanning, my king. Griot's voice responded, the Wakandan AI adapting to process this dimension's information architecture with impressive speed. Analysis complete. Welcome to Coruscant, capital planet of the Galactic Republic. Current date by local calendar. 19. BBY, final year of the Clone Wars, a galaxy-wide conflict between the Republic and Confederacy of Independent Systems. Political situation. Unstable. The Republic operates under emergency powers granted to Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. Democracy is strained. T'Challa's eyes narrowed behind his mask. Emergency powers. A chancellor accumulating authority. Democracy strained during wartime. He'd studied enough Earth history to recognize these patterns. The descent from Republic to Empire. Liberty sacrificed for promised security. The slow slide into tyranny that citizens often didn't recognize until it was too late. "Show me this Chancellor," T'Challa commanded. A holographic projection appeared from his kimoyo beads, an elderly man with a grandfatherly smile addressing the Senate with words about sacrifice and security. But T'Challa had spent his life reading people, assessing threats, seeing through masks that others wore. And even through a holographic recording, Something about Palpatine made his instincts scream warnings. Before he could analyze further, his enhanced hearing detected movement, multiple contacts approaching his position with military precision. T'Challa turned to find 6 figures in white armor surrounding him, their weapons raised but not yet firing. Clone troopers, Griot's database supplied. Genetically identical soldiers serving the Republic. Unknown individual, the lead trooper announced, his voice filtered through helmet speakers. You are in violation of Senate District security protocols. Identify yourself immediately. T'Challa raised his hands slowly, showing he held no weapons, though his suit's claws could extend in microseconds if needed. I am T'Challa, King of Wakanda. I have arrived here through circumstances beyond my control. I mean no harm to your republic. Wakanda isn't in our databases, another trooper reported. Sir, he could be a separatist infiltrator, new model of combat droid. I am no droid, T'Challa said firmly. I am flesh and blood, enhanced by my nation's traditions, but entirely human, and I will prove my peaceful intentions by coming with you willingly. I wish to speak with your Jedi. I sense they would understand my situation better than most. The mention of Jedi made the troopers pause. Before they could respond, the air itself seemed to shift, pressure changing as 2 figures arrived via speeder bike, landing with the fluid grace of master warriors. T'Challa's enhanced senses cataloged everything about them in seconds. Jedi robes, lightsabers at their belts, body language that spoke of decades of combat training. Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker had arrived, alerted by the disturbance in the Force that T'Challa's arrival had created. Stand down, Obi-Wan commanded the clone troopers, his attention fixed on T'Challa with the assessment of someone trained to evaluate threats. Master Kenobi, Jedi Council member. This is Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight. You've caused quite a stir. Your arrival registered as a Force anomaly across half the planet. T'Challa retracted his hands and stood at his full height, meeting the Jedi's gaze with the confidence of someone who'd negotiated with world leaders and faced down gods. I am T'Challa, warrior and king of Wakanda. I arrived here unintentionally, pulled through what your people might call a dimensional breach. I am not your enemy, though I sense this galaxy has many. Anakin stepped closer, his eyes scanning T'Challa's suit with a mix of tactical assessment and mechanical curiosity. That armor. I've never seen anything like it. Not clone armor, not Mandalorian Beskar, something else entirely. And your presence in the Force is... He trailed off, clearly struggling to articulate what he sensed. Neither light nor dark, Obi-Wan completed, his tone thoughtful. You exist outside the Force's normal manifestations, yet you're not absent from it, fascinating and troubling. I do not know this Force you speak of, T'Challa said honestly, but in Wakanda, we have our own spiritual connections. To ancestors, to the Panther god Bast, to the wisdom of those who came before. Perhaps what you sense is that connection, translated through your own understanding. A warrior king from another dimension, Obi-Wan said, stroking his beard. Well, we've encountered stranger things during this war. Master Windu will want to meet you. The Council needs to assess whether you pose a threat. I understand caution, T'Challa replied. In your position, I would do the same. But know this, I may be new to your galaxy, but I recognize patterns of tyranny when I see them. Your Chancellor accumulates power, while your democracy weakens. Your people accept restrictions in the name of security. These are warning signs I have studied in my own world's history." Anakin's expression shifted, defensiveness mixed with something else. "The Chancellor is doing what's necessary to end the war. He's one of the few people in the Senate who actually cares about winning." "Perhaps," T'Challa said carefully, noting the young Jedi's immediate emotional response. Loyalty, deep personal connection, exactly the kind of attachment that made manipulation possible. Or perhaps he creates crises that justify his accumulation of power. It is a tactic as old as governance itself. You've been here for less than an hour, and you're already making accusations about the Supreme Chancellor. Anakin's hand moved toward his lightsaber, not threatening, but ready. That's bold for someone who doesn't understand our situation. Anakin, Obi-Wan interjected with diplomatic smoothness. Let's not make hasty judgments. Mr. T'Challa, you'll accompany us to the Jedi Temple for proper evaluation. If your intentions are peaceful, you have nothing to fear. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The journey to the Jedi Temple gave T'Challa opportunity to observe this galaxy's capital. His enhanced vision cataloged details that painted a troubling picture. Military presence everywhere, propaganda broadcasts praising the Chancellor's leadership, citizens who moved with the careful neutrality of people who'd learned not to question authority. And everywhere, clone troopers, identical soldiers whose existence raised ethical questions, T'Challa filed away for later consideration. Were they slaves, citizens, tools? The distinction mattered. The temple itself was magnificent. Ancient architecture that spoke of centuries of tradition, its spires reaching toward the sky, like fingers grasping at enlightenment. But T'Challa's spiritual awareness detected something troubling. The building felt diminished somehow, as if a light that should burn bright had been dimmed by shadows pressing in from all sides. The Jedi Council chamber was circular, with 12 seats arranged in a ring. Masters of various species studied T'Challa, with expressions ranging from curiosity to suspicion. At the center stood Mace Windu, his presence carrying authority that reminded T'Challa of the Dora Milaje's general, absolute competence wrapped in disciplined control. "T'Challa of Wakanda," Mace said formally. "Your arrival has disrupted the Force in ways we've never encountered. Explain yourself." T'Challa removed his mask, a gesture of respect and openness. His face, revealed to the Jedi, showed the calm dignity of someone who ruled not through fear, but through earned respect. "Masters of the Jedi Council, I am King of Wakanda, a nation in my home dimension that exists hidden from the world, protecting advanced technology and resources from those who would misuse them. I arrived here accidentally, pulled through dimensional barriers by an artifact. I mean your republic no harm, but I must warn you, even in the short time I've been here, I've detected signs of corruption at your government's highest levels." "The Chancellor," Yoda said quietly, his ancient eyes studying T'Challa with unsettling intensity. "Speak of Palpatine, do you?" "I do," T'Challa confirmed. "In Wakanda, we have learned through centuries of careful observation. Those who accumulate emergency powers rarely surrender them willingly. Your Chancellor has held extraordinary authority for years, has he not? And with each crisis, that authority grows. The war requires strong leadership, Ki Adimundi stated. The Chancellor has been instrumental in holding the Republic together during unprecedented crisis. Or, T'Challa countered carefully, he has been instrumental in creating crises that justify his continued power. Masters, I do not claim to fully understand your situation. I have been here less than a day, but I have ruled a nation, made impossible decisions, and studied the patterns of tyranny across my world's history. What I sense here troubles me deeply. Your concerns are noted, Mace said, his tone neutral but his eyes thoughtful. But you're asking us to suspect a democratically elected leader based on your feelings. The Jedi serve the Republic. We cannot act on unsubstantiated suspicion. Then substantiate it, T'Challa replied. Grant me access to your intelligence networks. Let me investigate with Wakandan technology that operates on different principles than your force. If I'm wrong, I will apologize and seek a way home without causing further disruption. But if I'm right... He let the implication hang. The Council exchanged glances, silent communication flowing through force bonds T'Challa couldn't perceive. Finally, Yoda spoke. Investigate, you may, but supervised, you will be. Trust easily given, it is not. Earn it, you must. I would expect nothing less, T'Challa said with a slight bow. In your position, I would demand the same. Anakin, Mace addressed the young Jedi Knight. You'll supervise T'Challa's activities, show him our intelligence operations, answer his questions about Republic governance, and report back if he attempts anything suspicious. Anakin's expression suggested this wasn't an assignment he'd wanted, but he nodded acceptance. Yes, Master Windu. As they left the council chamber, Anakin walked in silence for several corridors before finally speaking. You really think the Chancellor is corrupt? Palpatine's been like a mentor to me for years. He's one of the few people in this entire government who treats me like more than just a weapon. T'Challa heard layers in that statement. Loneliness, need for validation, the hunger for recognition that the Jedi Order apparently hadn't satisfied. Tell me about him. How did this mentorship begin? When I was 9, Anakin said, his voice carrying memories both warm and complicated. I was just a freed slave from Tatooine, brought to the temple against the Council's wishes. Most of the Jedi made me feel like a problem to be solved, but Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, he treated me like I mattered. He saw potential where others saw danger. Classic manipulation, T'Challa recognized. Find someone isolated, offer validation, create dependency. He'd seen it in Killmonger, how the man had exploited Wakanda's guilt about abandoning him. But stating that directly would only make Anakin defensive. In Wakanda, T'Challa said carefully, we have a saying, the snake that would poison you first makes itself welcome in your home. I'm not saying your Chancellor is such a snake. I don't know him. But I would ask you to consider, does he encourage your growth as a Jedi, or does he encourage you to question your Order's teachings? Anakin stopped walking, his body language tense. The Jedi teachings aren't perfect. They demand I suppress all emotion, all attachment. They tell me my feelings for. He caught himself. They tell me that caring about people is a path to the dark side. Does that seem right to you? No, T'Challa admitted honestly. It does not. In Wakanda, we believe that love for our people, for our families, for those we protect, that love makes us stronger, not weaker. My father loved deeply, and it was his love that guided his wisdom as king." "Exactly," Anakin said, relief evident that someone finally understood. "But the Jedi don't see it that way. They'd rather I be a perfect, emotionless weapon than a person who actually cares about the people I'm fighting for." "And Chancellor Palpatine tells you this is wrong?" T'Challa asked, already knowing the answer. "He's the only one who does," Anakin confirmed. "He says my emotions are my strength, that the Jedi are afraid of true power. He says—" Anakin trailed off, clearly realizing he'd said too much. T'Challa placed a hand on the young Jedi's shoulder, a gesture that made Anakin flinch slightly before accepting the contact. "Anakin Skywalker, may I speak to you not as a stranger to your galaxy, but as one leader to another, as someone who has also carried burdens that threatened to crush him." Anakin met his eyes, and T'Challa saw someone drowning, weighted by prophecy, by expectations, by secrets and fears that no one would acknowledge as valid. "Please," Anakin said quietly. "Your emotions are not wrong," T'Challa said firmly. "Love, fear, anger, these are part of being human, or being any sentient species, but there is wisdom in understanding how those emotions can be exploited. You say the Chancellor validates your feelings. Does he also teach you to master them, to use them with wisdom, or does he simply tell you that whatever you feel is justified?" Anakin's silence was answer enough. "I had a cousin," T'Challa continued, his voice carrying the weight of recent pain. "Killmonger, he called himself. He was born of Wakanda, but raised in Oakland, abandoned by my father, who made a terrible mistake in leaving him behind. He returned, seeking what he believed was justice, to use Wakanda's weapons to liberate oppressed people worldwide. His anger was justified. His pain was real. But he let those valid emotions drive him to choices that would have caused more suffering than they prevented." "What happened to him?" Anakin asked. "I fought him, defeated him, and watched him die, choosing pride over redemption." T'Challa's voice carried genuine grief. "It is my greatest failure, that I could not reach him, could not make him see that his pain did not justify perpetuating cycles of violence. I tell you this, Anakin, because I sense in you that same potential. Great power, great pain, great anger, all justified, all real. But the question is, what will you do with it?" They had reached a meditation garden within the temple, a rare green space in Coruscant's urban expanse. T'Challa led Anakin to a bench, and for a long moment, they sat in silence. "I'm afraid," Anakin finally admitted, his voice barely a whisper. "There's someone I love, someone I'd do anything to protect, and I keep having visions, dreams where she dies, and I can't save her. The Chancellor says he can teach me power that could prevent those deaths, but the Jedi would call that path dark side. Tell me, King T'Challa, if you could save someone you loved by embracing darkness, would you?" T'Challa considered his answer carefully. This was clearly the crux of Anakin's vulnerability, the wound that Palpatine had been poisoning. When Killmonger seized Wakanda's throne, he did so by defeating me in ritual combat. Technically legitimate, but built on lies and manipulation. I was cast into the river, left for dead, and nearly died. But I was saved, and when I returned to reclaim my throne, I faced a choice. Kill my cousin, the only family I had left, or find another way. What did you choose? Anakin asked. I tried to find another way, T'Challa said quietly. I reached out to him, offered him a place in Wakanda's future, tried to show him that his pain could drive healing rather than destruction. But he refused, and in the end, I did what I had to do to protect my people. I fought him, and he died, but I did not choose darkness to achieve it. I remained who I was, a king who values life, who seeks wisdom, who uses force only when all other paths are closed. He turned to face Anakin directly. You ask if I would embrace darkness to save someone I love? No, because darkness does not save, it consumes. If this person you care for loves you, the real you, then becoming something dark to save them means destroying the very person they love. You would become a monster, wearing the face of a protector. Is that truly saving them? Tears were forming in Anakin's eyes. This young man carrying weights that would crush most beings. But what if the only way to prevent her death is power the Jedi forbid? What if their rules cost me everything? Then you find a third path, T'Challa said firmly. This is what leaders do, Anakin. When faced with impossible choices, obey restrictions that lead to tragedy, or embrace darkness that leads to damnation. We create new possibilities. We think beyond the obvious options. We seek wisdom, allies, alternative solutions. We do not simply choose the lesser evil. We forge something better. How? Anakin's voice carried desperate hope. First, by acknowledging that your fear is being manipulated, T'Challa said. Someone benefits from keeping you afraid, keeping you feeling isolated from the Jedi, keeping you believing that only forbidden power can save what you love. Second, by understanding that visions of the future are not certainties. They are warnings, possibilities to be prevented through wisdom rather than desperate action. And third, he placed both hands on Anakin's shoulders, forcing the young Jedi to meet his eyes. By trusting that you are not alone, that there are people who can help if you let them. The Jedi wouldn't understand, Anakin said, but his tone carried less certainty than before. Perhaps not all of them, T'Challa agreed, but Master Kenobi clearly cares for you. I saw it in how he looked at you. And there are others, I suspect. Friends, allies, people who would help if you told them truth, rather than hiding in isolation where fear grows unchecked. I can't risk it, Anakin said. If the Council knew about my marriage, they'd expel me, and then I'd have no power to protect anyone. Marriage. So that was the secret. T'Challa filed it away, along with the Jedi Order's apparently celibate traditions, another point where their philosophy seemed to deny, rather than embrace human nature. Then we work within the constraints we have, T'Challa said. But Anakin, promise me something. Before you make any drastic choices, before you embrace any dark paths that Chancellor Palpatine might suggest, come speak with me. Let us explore alternatives together. King to warrior, leader to leader, one burdened soul to another. Can you promise me that? Anakin studied T'Challa's face, seeing genuine concern there, wisdom without judgment, strength without domination. Finally, slowly, he nodded. I promise. But T'Challa, if you're right about the Chancellor, if he really is manipulating me, I've told him things, trusted him. If he's been lying all this time. then you were a victim of sophisticated manipulation by someone far older and more experienced, T'Challa said firmly. That is not shame. It is evidence of your good faith. Evil masters the art of deception. Recognizing you've been deceived is the first step to breaking free. They sat in silence for several more minutes, watching as the sun set beyond Coruscant's endless cityscape. Finally, Anakin spoke again. The Council assigned you to investigate Republic governance. Can I help? If there's really corruption, I want to know. I would welcome your assistance, T'Challa said. Your knowledge of this galaxy's systems will be invaluable. But Anakin, if my investigation leads where I suspect it might, you may not like what we discover. If it's truth, I need to know it, Anakin said, with renewed determination, even if it hurts. Spoken like a true leader, T'Challa said, standing and offering his hand. Then let us begin. Show me your Republic's intelligence networks. Help me understand the flow of power, the patterns of decision-making, and together we will uncover whether my suspicions are justified or merely the paranoia of a stranger to your galaxy. Anakin took his hand, the grip firm. Deal, but fair warning. If you're wrong about Palpatine, I'm going to enjoy proving it. I hope I am wrong, T'Challa said honestly. Truly, because if I'm right, the consequences will be terrible for everyone. As they walked back through the temple together, neither noticed the hooded figure watching from a shadowed alcove. Darth Sidious, wearing Palpatine's face, observed the warrior king from another dimension, with calculations spinning behind ancient Sith eyes. This T'Challa was unexpected, dangerous. His presence had already begun to crack the careful isolation Sidious had built around Anakin, offering validation without demanding darkness, providing wisdom without Jedi restrictions, creating exactly the kind of third path that could undermine years of manipulation. He would need to be eliminated quickly before he unraveled everything, but Sidious was patient. He'd waited decades to achieve his goals. He could wait a little longer to remove this obstacle, and in the meantime, he would accelerate the timeline. Anakin's fall would happen soon, before this Wakandan king could fully establish his influence. Order 66 was coming, and not even a warrior king from another dimension could stop what was already in motion. Or so Sidious believed. T'Challa, walking beside Anakin through the Jedi Temple's halls, felt a chill run down his spine, his enhanced senses detecting attention from somewhere, watching, calculating. He didn't turn to look, didn't reveal he'd noticed, but his hand moved to his Kumoyo beads, activating recording protocols and enhanced scanning. The hunt had begun, and T'Challa, Black Panther of Wakanda, had spent his life preparing for exactly this kind of conflict, where power hid behind masks, where truth was buried under layers of deception, where one man's wisdom might be all that stood between civilization and catastrophe. He would not fail, could not fail. Too much was at stake. The Battle of Kashyyyk erupted 5 days after T'Challa's arrival in the Star Wars galaxy. Separatist forces launched a massive assault on the Wookiee homeworld, threatening to enslave the entire population for forced labor in droid factories. The Republic responded with overwhelming force, clone battalions, Jedi generals, and naval support that turned the planet's orbit into a war zone. And for the first time, the Black Panther went to war in a galaxy far from home. T'Challa stood in the command center of a Republic gunship as it descended through Kashyyyk's atmosphere, his vibranium suit's sensors analyzing the tactical situation with Wakandan precision. Beside him, Anakin Skywalker reviewed holographic battle plans, while Ahsoka Tano, Anakin's Padawan, whom T'Challa had met during the past days, checked her lightsabers with the nervous energy of youth preparing for combat. "You don't have to come with us," Anakin said, glancing at T'Challa. "This is a Republic operation. You're not obligated to risk yourself." "In Wakanda," T'Challa replied, his voice carrying through his suit's vocal filters. "We have a philosophy. In times of crisis, the wise build bridges, while the foolish build barriers. Your Republic faces a crisis. Building bridges means standing with you, even if this is not my war. Plus, his armor is amazing," Ahsoka added, with youthful enthusiasm. "Master, did you see the demonstration yesterday? His suit absorbed blaster fire like it was nothing. And those claws cut through Dura-Steel like paper." T'Challa had indeed demonstrated his capabilities to Republic military command, partly to establish credibility, partly to understand how his Wakandan technology interfaced with this galaxy's warfare. The results had been impressive, even by Star Wars standards. Vibranium's energy absorption properties made his suit nearly impervious to blaster fire, while his enhanced strength and agility let him move through combat with superhuman grace. "Just stay close to the Jedi," Anakin warned. "Kashyyyk's forests are dense, easy to get separated, and Separatist forces use that terrain advantage. If we lose sight of you—" "I am a hunter, Anakin Skywalker," T'Challa interrupted gently. "I have tracked prey through Wakandan jungles since childhood. These forests may be alien, but the principles remain the same." The gunship shuddered as anti-aircraft fire exploded nearby. The pilot, a clone named Hawk, made evasive maneuvers that would have hospitalized a normal human, but barely registered to T'Challa's enhanced physiology. "Approaching LZ," Hawk called back. 30 seconds. Separatist forces are dug in hard. Expect heavy resistance the moment we touch down." T'Challa's claws extended with metallic whispers. Through the gunship's open sides, he could see the battlefield emerging. Wookiee warriors fighting alongside clone troopers, their bowcasters and physical strength countering Separatist battle droids' numerical advantage. But the droids were pressing forward with mechanical inevitability, their formations precise and overwhelming. The gunship's doors opened fully as they reached minimum altitude. Anakin leaped out first, his lightsaber igniting mid-fall, the blue blade catching sunlight as he dropped 20 meters to the forest floor. Ahsoka followed with youthful fearlessness, her twin green blades spinning in defensive patterns. T'Challa simply stepped out and fell. His vibranium suit's kinetic energy absorption meant falling wasn't dangerous. It was opportunity. He built velocity, then struck the ground with force that should have shattered bones. Instead, the suit absorbed and stored that energy, releasing it through his legs as he launched himself forward at speeds exceeding 40 kilometers per hour. Clone troopers watched in amazement as the Black Panther became a blur of black and silver, racing through the battlefield faster than most speeders. He hit the first line of battle droids like a kinetic missile, claws shredding through their chassis, enhanced strength tearing arms from sockets, tactical precision targeting every weakness his suit's sensors identified. 6 droids fell in as many seconds. "What the?" a clone sergeant began, his voice carrying shock and awe. "That's the king," another trooper shouted. "From the briefings, the one who's been working with General Skywalker." T'Challa didn't waste breath on responses. He moved through the separatist formation with lethal efficiency, his Dora Milaje training combining with enhanced abilities to create a fighting style this galaxy had never seen. He was faster than Jedi, stronger than clone commandos, and his vibranium claws cut through droid armor that normally required heavy weapons to penetrate. A super battle droid targeted him with wrist rockets. T'Challa's enhanced reflexes let him see the missile launch in what felt like slow motion. He waited until the last microsecond, then struck the missile with his palm, his suit absorbing the explosive impact and storing the kinetic energy. The super battle droid barely had time to recalculate before T'Challa reached it, his claws punching through its reinforced chest plate and ripping out its central processor. "He's magnificent," Ahsoka breathed, watching from her position alongside Anakin. They'd both paused mid-combat to witness the Black Panther's devastating assault. "He's efficient," Anakin corrected, though his tone carried admiration. "No wasted movement, every strike perfectly placed. That's decades of training, maybe centuries of tradition. He fights like every motion has been refined through generations." "Because it has," T'Challa's voice came through their comms. "The Black Panther mantle is passed down through Wakandan kings, each one adding to the knowledge. I fight with the wisdom of my ancestors, guiding every strike." A separatist AAT tank rounded a massive tree, its main cannon tracking toward clone positions. T'Challa didn't hesitate. He ran straight at it, his speed carrying him up the tank's sloped armor before its turret could track him. His claws found the hatch, tearing it open with vibranium-enhanced strength. Inside, battle droids turned their weapons toward him. He dropped a Wakandan EMP grenade, courtesy of his Kimoyo beads, and leaped clear. The electromagnetic pulse fried every circuit in the tank instantly, leaving it a dead hulk blocking the separatist advance. "Okay, that was impressive," Anakin admitted over the comm. "But don't get cocky. Separatist reinforcements are arriving. Artillery positions, 500 meters northeast. Can you reach them?" T'Challa's suit sensors painted the battlefield in tactical overlays. The artillery was devastatingly effective against clone positions, heavy plasma cannons that could obliterate entire squads. Taking them out conventionally would cost lives. "I can reach them," T'Challa confirmed, "but I'll need support for extraction." "We've got your back," Anakin promised. "Ahsoka, coordinate with Commander Gree. T'Challa, do what you do best." What T'Challa did best was hunt. He disappeared into Kashyyyk's forests, his black suit rendering him nearly invisible in the dense shadows. His enhanced senses tracked the artillery positions through sounds the droids made, mechanical footsteps, weapon charging cycles, tactical droid communications. To T'Challa, trained from childhood in Wakandan tracking arts, they might as well have been shouting their locations. He approached the first artillery position from above, having climbed a massive Roshir tree with claws that found purchase in bark that could turn aside blaster fire. From his elevated position, he studied the defensive setup. 2 heavy plasma cannons, a dozen battle droids, 1 tactical droid coordinating fire patterns. T'Challa activated his Kimoyo beads, sending targeting data to Republic forces. Then he dropped. He fell 20 meters in silence, landing among the droids like a predator among prey. His claws found the tactical droid first, decapitating it before its processors could register the threat. The battle droids turned, their programming struggling to acquire targets, moving at superhuman speeds. T'Challa's fighting style was brutal efficiency. He didn't duel droids, he destroyed them. Claws through processors, enhanced strength, tearing limbs from sockets, kinetic energy redirected from absorbed blaster shots into strikes that crumpled droid chassis like aluminum cans. The first artillery position fell in under 30 seconds. The second position detected his approach. Someone had transmitted warnings. Droids were ready. Weapons trained on approach vectors. Defensive protocols activated. T'Challa adapted instantly, using his enhanced agility to move through the canopy, approaching from angles their sensors couldn't track. He dropped EMP grenades first, frying their coordination networks. Then he attacked through the confusion, his vibranium suit making him invulnerable to their disorganized return fire. More droids fell. More artillery was silenced. By the time he reached the third position, Separatist forces had recognized the pattern. They deployed droidicas, destroyer droids with personal shields that could deflect even lightsaber strikes. The rolling shields activated as T'Challa approached, their weapons charging for devastating counterfire. T'Challa smiled beneath his mask. Shields that stopped energy weapons were impressive, but his claws were solid vibranium, the strongest metal in his universe, capable of cutting through nearly anything. He tested the shield with one claw. It penetrated. The droidica's programming didn't have protocols for physical weapons bypassing its defenses. T'Challa's claws found the droid's core mechanisms, and it collapsed in sparking ruins. The remaining droidicas recalculated, attempting to adjust their shield frequencies. T'Challa didn't give them time. He moved between them with enhanced speed, his claws finding weak points, his tactical mind processing their defensive patterns faster than their processors could adapt. When Republic forces reached the artillery positions 15 minutes later, they found T'Challa standing among the wreckage, barely winded, despite having single-handedly destroyed 3 fortified positions. "Your Majesty," Commander Gree said, his tone mixing respect with disbelief. We've never seen anything like that. Even Jedi would have struggled with those positions. Jedi fight with honor and restraint, T'Challa replied. I fight to protect. The distinction matters in tactics, if not in outcome. Anakin and Ahsoka arrived via Force-enhanced leaps, landing beside T'Challa with their lightsabers still ignited. Anakin deactivated his blade, studying the destroyed artillery with a combat veteran's assessment. "You could teach our commandos a few things," Anakin said. "That wasn't just power. That was surgical precision. You knew exactly where to strike for maximum effect with minimum risk. In Wakanda, we train our warriors to think, not just fight," T'Challa explained. "Every opponent has weaknesses. Every defense has vulnerabilities. Victory comes from identifying those points and exploiting them before the enemy understands what's happening." "Master," Ahsoka said, looking between Anakin and T'Challa. "Maybe T'Challa could help train clone forces. His tactics are different from Jedi methods. More direct." "More lethal, you mean?" Anakin said, though his tone wasn't judgmental. The Jedi way emphasizes defense, minimal force, protecting life even among enemies. T'Challa fights like those rules don't apply. Because in war, they often don't, T'Challa said honestly. I do not kill for pleasure or revenge, but I will not handicap myself with restrictions that cost the lives of those I protect. Your Jedi philosophy is admirable, but it assumes enemies share your values. These droids do not, and those who command them. He let the implication hang. They returned to the main battle lines, where Republic forces had finally established a secure perimeter. Wookiee warriors, massive beings covered in fur and carrying bowcasters that could punch through droid armor, approached T'Challa with what his suit's translation protocols identified as curiosity and respect. The largest Wookiee, Tarful, commander of Kashyyyk's defense forces, spoke in growls and roars that T'Challa's Kimoyo beads translated instantly. The metal warrior fights well, fights like Wookiee, strong, direct, protective of allies. We honor your courage. T'Challa bowed with Wakandan formality. Your people fight for their homes, their families, their freedom. In Wakanda, we understand this fight. We honor your courage as well, Chieftain Tarful. That evening, as Republic forces established defensive positions and prepared for the next day's operations, T'Challa found Anakin sitting alone on a platform high in the Rosher trees, looking out over Kashyyyk's moonlit forests. You've been avoiding me since the battle, T'Challa observed, sitting beside the young Jedi. Something troubles you. Anakin was silent for a long moment. Then, you fight without hesitation, without the constant second-guessing that the Jedi demand. You see enemies, and you destroy them, efficiently, precisely, but without mercy. And it works. It saves lives, but it troubles you, because the Jedi teach differently, T'Challa completed. They would have you show restraint, compassion even toward enemies, fight defensively rather than offensively. Yes, Anakin admitted, and I've always struggled with that. I see suffering that could be prevented with decisive action, but the Council wants measured responses. I see enemies who will never surrender, but the Jedi way demands I give them chances they'll use to kill more innocents. Watching you fight today, it felt like validation, like proof that the Jedi way isn't the only right way. It isn't, T'Challa said, but neither is mine. Anakin, the Jedi teach restraint because they understand a truth about power. It corrupts. Those who kill easily find it easier each time. Those who embrace violence as a first resort eventually become what they fight against. Your order's restrictions exist because they've seen what happens when Force users abandon them. So you think they're right? Anakin's voice carried disappointment. I think they're partially right, T'Challa corrected. Restraint is wisdom. But so is decisiveness. The key is knowing when each applies. In Wakanda, we have a tradition. Before our warriors engage in battle, they must state their purpose aloud, not for the enemy to hear, but for themselves to remember. I fight to protect. I fight for my people. I fight because no other path remains. It centers them, reminds them that violence is a tool, not a solution. He turned to face Anakin directly. You asked me days ago if I would embrace darkness to save someone I love. Today, you watched me fight with lethal efficiency. Do you understand the difference? I'm not sure, Anakin admitted. I fought today with purpose, to protect Republic soldiers, to defend the Wookiees, to end a threat that would cause more suffering if allowed to continue. Every strike was calculated, every kill necessary. But I took no pleasure in it, felt no satisfaction beyond mission completion. The darkness you fear, the path Chancellor Palpatine offers, that's different. That's power for power's sake, control through domination, strength that feeds on suffering rather than ending it. T'Challa placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder. You have great power, Anakin Skywalker. Power that could protect or destroy. The question isn't whether you use that power, it's why you use it. Fight to protect those you love. That's light, even if the Jedi don't recognize it as such. Fight because you crave power over others. That's darkness, regardless of how you justify it. The Chancellor says the Jedi are hypocrites, Anakin said quietly. That they claim to serve the light, but restrict people, control them, demand emotional detachment that isn't natural. He says true power comes from embracing all emotions, love, anger, fear, and using them as strength. T'Challa felt ice in his veins. This was it. The manipulation he'd sensed, laid bare. Palpatine wasn't just offering validation. He was systematically undermining the Jedi's authority while positioning himself as the alternative to their restrictions. Anakin, T'Challa said carefully, in my short time here, I've observed something interesting. The Chancellor speaks often of power, of strength, of what the Jedi restrict, but he never speaks of wisdom, of consequence, of the price that power demands. Why do you think that is? Because the Jedi obsess over consequences to the point of paralysis, Anakin suggested, but his tone was questioning now, uncertain. Or because he wants you to act without considering consequences, T'Challa countered. Anakin, I've seen this pattern before. In my own world, there are those who offer power as a solution to every problem. They tell you restrictions are weakness. They promise that if you just embrace your full potential without limits, you can achieve anything. But they never mention what you lose in the process. They never explain that power without wisdom creates monsters. Are you saying the Chancellor is lying to me? Anakin's voice carried pain at the thought. I'm saying he's telling you partial truths designed to serve his purposes rather than yours, T'Challa said. The Jedi are imperfect. I've seen this clearly. Their denial of emotion is misguided. Their restrictions can be stifling. But their core principle, that power must be tempered with wisdom and compassion, that remains true. The Chancellor offers you power without those temperaments. Ask yourself, who benefits if you embrace that path? Anakin stood abruptly, his body language defensive. I should check on the perimeter defenses. Running from difficult truths won't make them disappear, T'Challa said gently, but I won't force this conversation. Just remember what I told you days ago. Before you make any drastic choices, come speak with me. Let us explore alternatives together. Anakin paused at the platform's edge, then looked back. T'Challa, thank you for treating me like someone worth talking to, not just a problem to be managed. The Jedi, even Obi-Wan, they see the chosen one when they look at me. You see a person. Because you are a person, T'Challa replied, one carrying impossible burdens. In Wakanda, we believe that leadership is not about being perfect. It's about being strong enough to admit when you need help. You are strong, Anakin. but you don't have to be strong alone." After Anakin departed, T'Challa activated his Kimoyo beads, accessing the investigation files he'd been building. Over the past 5 days, he'd used Wakandan technology to penetrate Republic intelligence networks, trace financial records, and map power structures. What he'd found was damning. Chancellor Palpatine had connections, buried under layers of shell corporations and intermediaries, to separatist leadership. His emergency powers had been granted following crises that benefited his political position. His closest advisors were beings whose loyalty seemed bought rather than earned. But most disturbing, the clone troopers had organic control chips embedded in their brains, chips whose purpose was encrypted under security so tight that only the Chancellor's office had access codes. T'Challa's Wakandan scanners had detected them during medical evaluations, and when he'd investigated, he'd found a conspiracy that made his blood run cold. Order 66. Behavioral modification protocols that would turn every clone trooper in the Republic military into an assassin targeting Jedi. One command, and the Jedi Order would be destroyed by the very soldiers who'd fought beside them for years. T'Challa had sent encrypted warnings to select Jedi Masters: Yoda, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi. He'd shared his evidence, explained the threat. But they struggled to believe it, to accept that their Republic, their clones, their Chancellor could be part of such a massive conspiracy. "Proof we need," Yoda had said. "Suspicion alone, insufficient is." But time was running out. T'Challa's enhanced awareness could sense it. The gathering storm, the approaching catastrophe. Palpatine was preparing to make his final move, and when he did, Anakin Skywalker would be his primary target. T'Challa had to reach the young Jedi first, had to provide the alternative path that prevented his fall. Because if Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader, the consequences would echo across the galaxy for decades. The Black Panther stood on Kashyyyk's platform, looking out at alien stars, and made a vow. He would not fail. He had arrived in this galaxy by accident, but he would not leave it to darkness without a fight. Wakanda forever. But tonight, the galaxy needed Wakanda's king, and T'Challa would not abandon those who needed him, no matter what reality they called home. The summons came 3 days after Kashyyyk. Urgent, coded, marked with priority encryption that made T'Challa's instincts scream warnings. Anakin needed to meet him immediately. Location classified, matter of galactic importance. T'Challa arrived at the designated coordinates, a private landing platform in Coruscant's upper levels, shielded from surveillance by jamming equipment that suggested Republic intelligence involvement. Anakin was already there, his body language radiating tension that T'Challa's enhanced senses read as fear, anger, and desperate hope all tangled together. "Thank you for coming," Anakin said without preamble. "I didn't know who else I could trust with this." "What has happened?" T'Challa asked, moving closer. His suit's sensors detected elevated heart rate, stress hormones, the physiological markers of someone who'd received devastating news. "The Chancellor," Anakin said, his voice raw. He revealed something to me, something that changes everything." He looked up, his eyes haunted. "T'Challa, he told me he's a Sith Lord, Darth Sidious. He's been orchestrating the entire war, both sides, and he says he can save Padme." T'Challa felt his world shift. Padme, Senator Amidala, Anakin's secret wife, the person he'd mentioned fearing to lose. Explain everything. Leave nothing out. What followed was a confession that painted a picture of sophisticated manipulation spanning years. Palpatine had cultivated Anakin since childhood, positioning himself as mentor and father figure. He'd encouraged Anakin to question Jedi teachings, to embrace emotions the Order condemned. And now, with Anakin having visions of Padme dying in childbirth, Palpatine had made his final play. He said he could teach me to save her, Anakin explained, his voice breaking. Powers the Jedi consider unnatural, dark side abilities that can prevent death. He said the Jedi are hypocrites who fear real power, that they'd let her die rather than embrace what's necessary to save her. And you came to me instead of accepting immediately, T'Challa observed. Why? Because you asked me to, Anakin said simply. You said before I made any drastic choices, I should talk to you, explore alternatives. So here I am. Tell me there's another way. Tell me I don't have to become a Sith to save the person I love most in the galaxy. T'Challa's mind worked at enhanced speed, processing implications and calculating responses. This was the moment, the pivot point where Anakin Skywalker either fell to darkness or remained in the light. Everything he'd worked toward since arriving in this galaxy came down to the next few minutes. First, T'Challa said firmly, thank you for trusting me. That took tremendous courage, especially given what's at stake. Second, tell me about these visions. How certain are you that they're prophecy rather than possibility? They feel real, Anakin said desperately. I had similar visions about my mother years ago. She died exactly as I foresaw. If these visions are the same, then we have warning, T'Challa interrupted. Time to prevent tragedy rather than react to it. Anakin in Wakanda, we have seers who can glimpse possible futures. But we've learned that seeing a future doesn't make it inevitable. It makes it avoidable. Your visions are warnings, not certainties. The Chancellor said only dark side power could change them, Anakin countered. The Chancellor is a Sith Lord whose entire existence depends on you believing that, T'Challa said sharply. Anakin, think tactically for a moment. Why would he reveal himself now? What does he gain? Anakin's tactical mind engaged despite his emotional turmoil. He knows I'm desperate, that I'd do anything to save Padme. He's using my fear as leverage. Exactly, T'Challa confirmed. Classic manipulation. Create a crisis that makes his offer seem like the only solution. But there are always alternatives. Padme is receiving medical care, yes. The best the Republic can provide, Anakin confirmed. But the medical droids can't find anything wrong. She's healthy by every conventional measure. Then the threat may not be medical, T'Challa said, his enhanced intellect piecing together patterns. If Palpatine can manipulate the Force to create visions, if he's powerful enough to orchestrate a galactic war, could he not also create false prophecies? Show you visions designed to make you desperate enough to turn to him? Anakin's eyes widened. You think he's causing the visions, making me see Padme's death to manipulate me? I think a being who orchestrates both sides of a war is capable of any deception, T'Challa replied. But here's what matters. Whether the visions are real prophecy or manufactured manipulation, we address the underlying issue. You fear losing Padme. That fear is valid. She's important to you. and pregnancy carries risks even with advanced medical technology. So we find a solution that doesn't require you to embrace darkness." "What solution?" Anakin demanded. "The Jedi can't help. They'd expel me for violating celibacy codes. The Senate's medical facilities are already doing everything possible. What other options exist?" T'Challa activated his Kimoyo beads, projecting medical data he'd compiled over recent days. Wakandan medical technology operates on different principles than what this galaxy has developed. We use vibranium's unique properties to enhance healing, to stabilize cellular structures, to prevent complications that conventional medicine cannot address. I've been studying your galaxy's medical systems. They're advanced, but they lack certain approaches we've perfected. He pulled up specific protocols. If Padme's pregnancy carries risks, Wakandan technology can minimize them. I can provide medical equipment that will monitor her at levels your droids cannot achieve. I can offer healing techniques that don't require force manipulation or dark side corruption. Most importantly, I can give you a path forward that doesn't cost you your soul." "You would do this?" Anakin's voice carried desperate hope. "Help someone you've never met, just because I asked." "I would do this because it's right," T'Challa corrected. "Because protecting life is what leaders do. Because watching you fall to darkness to save someone you love would be a tragedy I refuse to allow. Anakin, you don't need Sith power to protect Padme. You need wisdom, resources, and allies who actually care about your well-being rather than using you as a weapon." Tears were streaming down Anakin's face now, years of isolation, fear, and manipulation cracking under the weight of genuine compassion offered without conditions. "The Chancellor said the Jedi would never understand, that only he could help me." "The Chancellor lied," T'Challa said firmly, "as Sith do, as manipulators always do. They isolate you, make you believe you have no other options, then offer themselves as your only salvation. But Anakin, you are not alone. You have Obi-Wan, who cares for you despite struggling to show it. You have Ahsoka, who looks up to you. You have Padme, who loves you. And now you have me, a king from another reality, who sees in you not the chosen one, but a good man carrying impossible burdens." "What do I do?" Anakin asked, his voice that of someone drowning who'd finally been thrown a lifeline. "Palpatine revealed himself. He's a Sith Lord. The Jedi need to know, but if I report him, will they believe me, or will they think I'm the one who's fallen?" T'Challa's tactical mind was already working through scenarios. "We report him, but we do it strategically. Not just you going to the Council with accusations. We bring evidence. My investigation has uncovered connections between Palpatine and Separatist leadership, financial records that prove he's been orchestrating both sides. Combined with your testimony about his Sith identity, it becomes irrefutable." "He's powerful," Anakin warned. "One of the most powerful beings I've ever encountered. If we confront him, then we do so with overwhelming force and tactical advantage," T'Challa interrupted. "We don't face him alone in his office, where he has home field advantage. We gather Jedi Masters, Republic security, and we strike when he's vulnerable. But first, we secure Padme's safety. Whatever happens, she cannot be where Palpatine can reach her." Anakin nodded, his tactical training reasserting itself now that he had direction rather than just fear. "I can get her to a secure location. Naboo has facilities that—" "No," T'Challa interrupted. "Anywhere in Republic space. Palpatine has reach. She needs to be somewhere he cannot anticipate, cannot access through conventional means. I have a location prepared, a safe house using Wakandan stealth technology that renders it invisible to this galaxy's sensors. She'll be protected by security systems Palpatine has never encountered. You already prepared this. Anakin's voice carried amazement. You were that certain I'd choose the right path. I was that certain you were worth saving, T'Challa corrected, and that faith appears to have been justified. Now, we move quickly. Time is our enemy. If Palpatine suspects you've rejected his offer, he'll accelerate his plans. Order 66. The inhibitor chips in the clone troopers. All of it will activate. You know about Order 66. Anakin's shock was visible. I've been investigating since I arrived, T'Challa confirmed. My Wakandan technology detected the chips, traced their purpose, and uncovered Palpatine's contingency for destroying the Jedi. I've warned select masters, but we need to act before he can trigger it. Are you with me, Anakin Skywalker? Will you stand with the Jedi, with Padme, with the light, even if it means facing the most dangerous opponent you've ever encountered? Anakin ignited his lightsaber, not in threat, but in commitment. The blue blade cast dramatic light across his face, showing determination, replacing fear. I'm with you, for Padme, for the Republic, for the Jedi who believed in me, even when I doubted myself. What's our first move? We go to the Jedi Council, T'Challa said, together, and we tell them everything. The Jedi Council chamber filled rapidly as masters responded to emergency summons. Mace Windu, Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ki-Adi-Mundi, Plo Koon, and others assembled with the urgency of beings who sensed catastrophe approaching. T'Challa stood beside Anakin in the chamber's center, his vibranium suit gleaming under the chamber's lights. Anakin's hand rested on his lightsaber hilt, not from threat, but from the need for something solid to anchor himself as he prepared to reveal truths that would shatter the Republic. Masters of the Jedi Council, T'Challa began, his voice carrying Wakandan formality. We bring evidence of a conspiracy that threatens not just the Republic, but the very existence of your order. Anakin Skywalker will provide testimony. I will provide corroborating evidence from my investigation. What we reveal will seem impossible, but I ask that you listen completely before passing judgment. Proceed, Mace said, his tone grave, though I sense we already know some of what you'll reveal. Anakin took a deep breath, then spoke words that had been building for years. Chancellor Palpatine is Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who's been orchestrating the Clone Wars. He revealed himself to me, offered to teach me dark side powers, and attempted to manipulate my fear for Senator Amidala into turning me against the Jedi Order. The chamber exploded with reactions, shock, denial, demands for proof. Only Yoda remained still, his ancient eyes showing sadness rather than surprise. Known this, we have suspected, Yoda said quietly. T'Challa's warnings. Investigated we did. Evidence found, we have. Troubling evidence, but proof absolute we lacked. Now you have it, T'Challa said, activating his Kimoyo beads. Holographic projections filled the chamber. Financial records, communication logs, surveillance footage from Wakandan spy devices he'd planted throughout Palpatine's operations. Chancellor Palpatine has connections to Count Dooku, to separatist leadership, to organizations that profit from war's continuation, He's been playing both sides, extending the conflict to accumulate emergency powers, and most damningly, he controls Order 66. More projections appeared, schematics of the inhibitor chips, their behavioral modification protocols, the activation codes buried under Chancellor-level encryption. Every clone trooper in the Republic military has organic control chips that can turn them into assassins targeting Jedi. One command from Palpatine, and your order will be destroyed by the very soldiers who fought beside you. The council members exchanged looks of horror. Even those who'd suspected Palpatine's corruption hadn't imagined the conspiracy ran this deep. This evidence, Mace said, studying the projections with his tactical mind, if genuine, proves treason at the highest level, but confronting the Supreme Chancellor, especially if he's truly a Sith Lord, that's not something we can do casually. We need strategy, overwhelming force, and perfect timing. Agreed, T'Challa said, which is why I propose we act now, before Palpatine realizes Anakin has rejected his offer. He'll be expecting compliance, not resistance. We use that assumption against him. How? Obi-Wan asked, his diplomatic mind already working through implications. We gather Jedi Masters, your best combatants. We coordinate with Republic security forces, whose loyalty is certain, and we confront Palpatine in his office with evidence, witnesses, and the strength to counter his power. T'Challa's tactical display showed the Senate building, highlighting Palpatine's private chambers. My Wakandan technology can disrupt his communications, preventing him from activating Order 66 prematurely, but we must move within the hour. Confronting a Sith Lord in his own stronghold, Ki-Adi-Mundi said slowly. That's incredibly risky. More risky than waiting for him to strike first, T'Challa countered. Masters, your enemy has revealed himself. He doesn't yet know you're aware. This window of opportunity will close rapidly. Act now with surprise on your side, or react later to catastrophe he chooses. The king speaks wisdom, Yoda said, rising from his seat with surprising energy for one so ancient. Act we must. Delay we cannot. Mace, Obi-Wan, Kit Fisto, again Kolar. With me, you will come. Confront the Chancellor. We shall. I'm coming too, Anakin said firmly. No, Mace replied. You've done your part by revealing the truth. This confrontation requires someone who knows Palpatine's tactics intimately, Anakin interrupted, who's trained with him, studied his methods, understands how he thinks. I'm not asking permission, Master Windu. I'm coming. T'Challa placed a hand on Anakin's shoulder. As am I. This is not strictly Jedi business. This is about protecting an entire galaxy from tyranny. Wakanda has always stood against such threats, regardless of where we find them. Mace studied them both, then nodded. Very well. But Anakin, if he attempts to manipulate you again, if you feel yourself wavering, you step back immediately. Understood? Understood, Anakin confirmed. But I won't waver. Not anymore. T'Challa showed me there's a path forward that doesn't require darkness. I'm staying on that path. Within 20 minutes, the strike team assembled. 5 Jedi Masters, 1 Jedi Knight, and 1 Wakandan King. They moved through Coruscant's Senate District with purposeful speed, Republic guards who'd been vetted for loyalty providing escort. T'Challa's Kimoyo beads projected tactical overlays only he could see. Guard positions, security systems, potential ambush points. His enhanced senses tracked everything, cataloging threats and calculating optimal approach vectors. They reached Palpatine's office complex without incident. The Chancellor's personal guards, red-armored beings who supposedly protected him, stood at attention as the Jedi approached. "Masters," the lead guard said with apparent respect. "The Chancellor is in his private office. Do you have an appointment?" "We do not need appointments," Mace replied, his hand on his lightsaber. "Stand aside. This is Jedi business." The guards exchanged glances, then complied, their programming or loyalty apparently not extending to opposing multiple Jedi Masters directly. The doors to Palpatine's inner sanctum opened, revealing the Chancellor standing by his viewport, looking out over Coruscant's sunset. "Ah, Master Windu," Palpatine said, turning with his grandfatherly smile perfectly in place. "And so many distinguished visitors. To what do I owe?" His eyes found Anakin, then T'Challa, and his expression shifted microscopically. Calculation replaced warmth. "I see. Young Skywalker, you've made your choice." "In the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic," Mace stated formally, "you're under arrest, Chancellor. The evidence of your treason is overwhelming. Surrender peacefully and face justice." Palpatine's smile became something terrible, a mask dropping to reveal the ancient evil beneath. "Treason. I am the Senate. I am the Republic's only hope against chaos. And you Jedi have become so arrogant you can't recognize salvation when it's offered." His voice dropped to Sidious's rasping tone, years of pretense discarded in seconds. "Did you think I wouldn't prepare for this possibility? That I'd leave myself vulnerable to exposure?" His hands moved with Sith speed, force lightning erupting from his fingertips. The Jedi Master's lightsabers ignited simultaneously, creating a wall of light that caught the dark side assault. T'Challa's vibranium suit absorbed the electrical energy that arced toward him, storing the kinetic force. "Your lightning won't work on me, Sith Lord," T'Challa said, his claws extending. "Vibranium absorbs and redirects energy. Every attack you make against me only makes me stronger." Sidious's eyes blazed with fury. "Then I'll kill the others first." What followed was combat on a level T'Challa had never witnessed. Sidious moved with speed that exceeded even his enhanced perception. His lightsaber, a red blade that appeared from concealment, cutting through the air in patterns that defied physics. Kit Fisto fell within seconds, his head separated from his body, before his combat instincts could fully engage. Agen Kolar followed, cut down by a combination of Sith lightning and lightsaber precision. But Mace Windu, Yoda, and Obi-Wan were masters for a reason. Their lightsabers created defensive patterns that countered Sidious's assault, while T'Challa attacked from angles the Sith Lord couldn't predict. His vibranium claws struck at Sidious from behind, forcing the Sith to defend on multiple fronts. Anakin joined the assault, his blue lightsaber coordinating with Obi-Wan's in the synchronized patterns they'd perfected through years of fighting together. They'd trained for this without knowing it. Two warriors whose combat styles complemented perfectly, now united against the master manipulator who tried to turn one against the other. "You cannot win!" Sidious screamed, his force powers creating whirlwinds that threw furniture and shattered windows. "I am the culmination of 1,000 years of Sith legacy. You are insects compared to my power. Then insects will bring you down," T'Challa said calmly, his tactical mind identifying patterns in Sidious's defense. For all his power, the Sith Lord was accustomed to overwhelming opponents through raw force. He wasn't prepared for coordinated assault from multiple masters, plus a warrior whose armor made him effectively invulnerable to force attacks. T'Challa feinted high, drawing Sidious's attention, then struck low with his claws. The vibranium cut through Sidious's robes and scored his leg. First blood. The Sith Lord staggered, shock replacing arrogance. "Impossible! What metal?" "Vibranium," T'Challa replied. "The strongest substance in my universe, and your force powers cannot defend against physical weapons your philosophy has never encountered." Mace pressed the advantage, his Vapad form channeling Sidious's own dark side energy back at him. Yoda attacked from another angle, his small size making him nearly impossible to track, while his centuries of experience predicted Sidious's moves before they fully formed. "Activate Order 66, Sidious screamed into his comlink. "All clone forces, execute Order 66 now." T'Challa had been waiting for this. His Kimoyo beads released an EMP pulse calibrated specifically to disrupt the inhibitor chip's activation frequency. Across Coruscant, clone troopers felt momentary disorientation as their behavioral modification chips received conflicting signals. Sidious's activation command, disrupted by Wakandan technology, they had no defense against. It didn't disable all the chips. T'Challa's technology couldn't reach across the entire galaxy. But on Coruscant, where the majority of Jedi were concentrated, it prevented the immediate massacre Sidious had planned. "Your contingency has failed," T'Challa said. "Your conspiracy is exposed. Your power base is crumbling. Surrender, and perhaps you'll live to face justice." Sidious's response was a scream of pure rage, and force lightning so concentrated it cracked the walls. T'Challa's suit absorbed the energy, storing more kinetic force than it had ever held. He could feel the power building, waiting to be released. And then he struck. T'Challa released all the stored energy in a single explosive burst, kinetic force that exceeded anything his suit had been designed to contain. The shockwave sent Sidious flying backward through his office viewport, the transparisteel shattering as the Sith Lord tumbled into empty air 3,000 meters above Coruscant's surface. For a moment, everyone froze. Did that just kill him? Then, Sidious arrested his fall through force levitation, hovering beyond the shattered window, his face twisted with hatred beyond measure. "This isn't over. None of you understand what's coming. The Empire will rise, Order 66 will spread across the galaxy, and when it does, you'll all—" A blue lightsaber blade punched through his chest from behind. Darth Vader, no, Anakin Skywalker, had used the Force to leap from the window, following Sidious into empty air, and struck while the Sith Lord was distracted by his own monologue. The blade pierced Sidious's heart, or whatever equivalent organ Sith had. And the ancient evil that was Darth Sidious let out one final scream before his body went limp. Anakin pulled his lightsaber free and used the Force to guide both himself and Sidious's corpse back through the window, landing with Jedi grace despite the impossible maneuver. "It's done," Anakin said quietly, looking at the body of the man who'd manipulated him for years. "The Sith Lord is dead. At great cost," Mace said, looking at Kit Fisto and Agent Kolar's bodies. "But the galaxy is saved from tyranny. For now," T'Challa warned, Order 66 was only partially disrupted. Across the galaxy, clone troopers will still be receiving activation signals. And Sidious was right about one thing. The infrastructure for an empire already exists. Without him at its head, it may crumble. But the damage he's done will take years to undo. Yoda approached Sidious's corpse, studying it with ancient eyes. Ended, the Sith are not. Always two there are, master and apprentice. Find Dooku, we must. End the Sith legacy, we shall. Master Yoda, Anakin said, I need to. Go to your wife, you should. Yoda interrupted, the ancient master showing rare warmth. Protect her, you must. Use T'Challa's technology. Save her, we will. Attachments, no longer will we forbid. Learned from this, the Jedi Order has. Change, we must. Anakin looked at T'Challa with gratitude beyond words. You saved me, saved Padme, saved the entire Jedi Order. I don't know how to thank you. By being the Jedi you were meant to be, T'Challa replied. By showing this galaxy that light can triumph over darkness, that attachments can strengthen rather than corrupt, that the Chosen One's prophecy meant bringing balance, not through destruction, but through reform. As Republic security arrived to secure the scene, as medics treated the wounded, as the galaxy's communication networks exploded with news of Palpatine's death and the failed Sith conspiracy, T'Challa stood by the shattered window, looking out over Coruscant. He'd prevented tragedy, changed history, saved Anakin Skywalker from becoming Darth Vader. But the cost had been high, and the work wasn't finished. Order 66 was spreading across the galaxy. Clone troopers were turning on Jedi Masters who hadn't received his warnings. The Republic was fractured, and rebuilding would take time they might not have. But today, they'd won. And T'Challa, King of Wakanda, Black Panther and protector of his people, had proven that sometimes a king from another reality was exactly what a galaxy far, far away needed. The galaxy burned in the aftermath of Palpatine's fall, but it was fire that purified rather than consumed. Order 66 had activated partially. Jedi across the Outer Rim systems fell to their clone escorts before T'Challa's warnings could reach them. Masters who'd fought beside their troops for years were gunned down by soldiers whose minds were overridden by behavioral modification chips they'd never known existed. But on Coruscant, where the majority of the Jedi Council remained, T'Challa's EMP disruption had provided precious minutes of warning. Mace Windu coordinated emergency evacuations. Yoda used the Force to sense which clones had successfully resisted their programming. And across the temple, Jedi Knights and Masters fought desperate battles against soldiers who'd been their brothers in arms hours before. T'Challa moved through the temple like a guardian spirit, his vibranium suit making him nearly invulnerable to blaster fire, where clone troopers advanced with tragic inevitability, their programming overriding years of loyalty and friendship. The Black Panther intervened, not killing when he could avoid it, but disarming, incapacitating, using his enhanced strength and Wakandan technology to disable chips remotely when possible. Rex! T'Challa called out, finding Captain Rex and his unit preparing to execute a group of younglings. The clone captain's expression showed the horror of someone fighting against their own actions, his body moving despite his consciousness screaming in protest. T'Challa's Kimoyo beads emitted a targeted EMP pulse, stronger than the general disruption he'd used earlier. Rex's chip overloaded and burned out. the behavioral modification protocols crashing as Wakandan technology exceeded their design parameters. The captain collapsed to his knees, his blaster clattering to the ground. No, what was I? Those were children. I was about to kill children. It wasn't you, T'Challa said firmly, helping Rex to his feet, while simultaneously projecting a protective force field around the terrified younglings. The chip in your brain. It overrode your will, turned you into a weapon against your friends. But you're free now. Can you help me free the others? Rex's training reasserted itself despite his trauma. Yes, sir. If you can disable the chips, I can coordinate with troopers who still have their free will. We can turn the tide inside the temple. What followed was a desperate 2-hour battle where clone troopers fought clone troopers, those whose chips T'Challa had disabled, defending Jedi against those still trapped in Order 66's programming. It was brother against brother, a civil war in miniature that painted the temple's sacred halls with tragedy. But T'Challa's intervention made the difference. His Wakandan technology, so alien to this galaxy's physics that even Palpatine hadn't planned for it, systematically disabled inhibitor chips across Coruscant's clone forces. It wasn't fast enough to save everyone. Dozens of Jedi still fell, but hundreds survived who would have died without his technology. In the temple's meditation chamber, Anakin Skywalker stood guard over Padme Amidala, who'd been brought here under heavy protection. She was terrified, pregnant, caught in the middle of galactic catastrophe, watching her husband fight former allies, with tears streaming down his face. "Anakin!" she called out as he cut down another advancing clone trooper, not killing, using Form 3's defensive mastery to disarm without lethal force. "This is madness. Those are our soldiers. They're not themselves," Anakin shouted back, deflecting blaster fire while simultaneously using the Force to push attacking clones backward rather than strike them down. "Their chips are controlling them. T'Challa's trying to free them. But until then..." An explosion rocked the meditation chamber. Through the smoke emerged Commander Appo and a full battalion of the 501st Legion, Anakin's own troops, men he'd led through countless battles. Their expressions were blank, their movements mechanical, their weapons tracking toward Anakin with tragic efficiency. "General Skywalker," Appo said in a voice devoid of personality, "you are in violation of Order 66. Step away from the Jedi sympathizer. Comply immediately." "Appo, it's me," Anakin pleaded. "We've fought together for 3 years. You saved my life on Christophsis. We celebrated your promotion to Commander. Fight the chip. Remember who you are." "I am a soldier of the Republic," Appo replied mechanically. "I follow orders. You have 5 seconds to comply." Anakin's lightsaber trembled in his hand. These were his men, his brothers. The prophecy said he'd bring balance to the Force, but what balance looked like killing those who'd trusted him. T'Challa burst through the meditation chamber's side entrance, his suit scorched from sustained blaster fire, but still functional. "Anakin, get Padme to the extraction point. I'll handle the 500 at first." "There are too many," Anakin protested, even as he moved to shield Padme. "Even you can't." "I don't have to fight them," T'Challa interrupted. "I just have to free them." He activated every Kimoyo bead simultaneously, channeling all his suit's stored energy into a massive EMP burst that flooded the meditation chamber with electromagnetic disruption. The 501st Troopers' inhibitor chips overloaded en masse, their behavioral modification protocols crashing as 200 clone troopers suddenly regained free will. Apo collapsed, his helmet falling off to reveal a face twisted with horror. "General, what did we almost do?" "It wasn't you," Anakin said, helping his commander stand. "None of you chose this, but now you can choose. Help us save the Jedi, or watch an order that's protected the galaxy for millennia die because of chips none of us knew existed." The 501st didn't hesitate. They'd fought beside Jedi too long, respected them too deeply to simply accept their programmed execution. Within minutes, they'd reorganized as defenders rather than executioners, turning their weapons against clone units still trapped in Order 66's control. "This is T'Challa to all Jedi," the Wakandan king broadcast across every frequency his technology could access. "Order 66 is a Sith contingency, behavioral modification chips forcing clone troopers to kill Jedi. If your soldiers turn on you, the chips can be disabled through EMP pulses or direct removal. Chancellor Palpatine is dead, killed by Master Windu and Jedi Strike Team. The Sith conspiracy is broken. Hold positions and defend yourselves. Help is coming." The broadcast reached across Coruscant, then was relayed by Republic communication stations across the galaxy. Jedi Masters who'd been desperately defending against their own troops suddenly understood what they faced. Not betrayal, but technological slavery. The revelation changed everything. On Kashyyyk, Master Yoda had already sensed the disturbance and warned Commander Gree before the chips could activate. On Maigito, Ki-Adi-Mundi used the Force to crush approaching clones' inhibitor chips before they could fire. On Utapau, Obi-Wan Kenobi, warned by T'Challa's earlier intelligence, had already begun investigating clone behavior and destroyed Commander Cody's chip hours before Order 66's activation. The Jedi Order didn't fall. It stumbled, bled, lost dozens of masters and hundreds of knights, but it survived, battered, traumatized, but intact enough to rebuild. 3 days after what historians would call the Sith Revelation, T'Challa stood in the Jedi Council chamber, now expanded to include clone commanders, Republic senators who'd opposed Palpatine's emergency powers, and representatives from worlds who'd suffered under the Chancellor's orchestrated war. The Republic was in chaos. Palpatine's death had created a power vacuum, and without Order 66's complete success, there was no empire to fill it. Instead, there was confusion, investigation, and the slow, painful process of truth revealing itself. "The evidence is overwhelming," Senator Bail Organa stated, reviewing data T'Challa had provided. Chancellor Palpatine was Darth Sidious. He orchestrated the clone wars from both sides. He planned to destroy the Jedi and establish a Sith empire, if not for T'Challa's intervention. He gestured to the Wakandan king. "We would have lost everything. And yet the damage he caused remains," Mace Windu said gravely. "The separatist systems still exist. Their leadership still believes they're fighting for independence. Count Dooku has gone into hiding. The clone army is traumatized, many troopers unable to reconcile what their chips made them attempt. The path forward is unclear. Then we forge a new path," T'Challa said, standing to address the assembly. "In Wakanda, when crisis reveals fundamental flaws in our systems, we don't simply repair them, we rebuild better. Your Republic was vulnerable to Sith manipulation because power was too centralized." Your Jedi Order failed to detect the threat because tradition blinded you to new possibilities. Your clone army was enslaved by chips you never questioned. These are not isolated failures. They're systemic problems requiring systemic solutions. You're suggesting wholesale reform? Ki-Adi-Mundi asked skeptically. In the middle of ongoing war and political chaos, I'm suggesting you either reform now, while you have opportunity, or watch the same patterns repeat under different names. T'Challa replied, "The Sith are defeated, but the conditions that let them rise remain. Address those conditions, or expect new threats to exploit them." Yoda thumped his walking stick. "Wisdom, the king speaks. Change, the Jedi must. Our doctrine of emotional detachment failed, it has. Pushed Anakin toward darkness. Nearly did we. Recognized attachments as strength, T'Challa did. Learn from him, we should." "The clone troopers deserve citizenship," Rex added, standing in his armor, but no longer wearing a helmet, symbolic of the transparency the new order needed. "We're not property, not weapons. We're sentient beings who fought and bled for this republic. The chips prove we were never treated as citizens. We were tools to be programmed. That ends now." "Agreed," Bail Organa said firmly. "I'll sponsor legislation immediately. Full citizenship for all clone troopers, with rights and protections equal to any Republic citizen. We owe you that, and more." "As for the Separatists," Obi-Wan interjected, "not all of them were truly villains. Many systems had legitimate grievances about Republic governance. Perhaps instead of crushing them militarily, we should address their concerns. Offer genuine reform that makes remaining in the Republic attractive rather than obligatory." T'Challa nodded approval. "In Wakanda, we've learned that true peace comes not from defeating enemies, but from removing the reasons they became enemies in the first place. If the Separatist system's grievances were valid, corruption, taxation without representation, core world bias, then addressing those grievances transforms enemies into allies." The debate continued for hours, but the foundation was set. The Republic would reform rather than transform into empire. The Jedi would adapt their philosophy, acknowledging that attachment and emotion could strengthen rather than corrupt. The clones would become citizens with rights and futures beyond warfare. And through it all, T'Challa provided Wakandan wisdom, not imposing his culture's solutions, but offering principles that could adapt to this galaxy's unique circumstances. That evening, T'Challa found Anakin in the temple's meditation garden, sitting beside Padme. She was visibly pregnant now, her condition stable thanks to Wakandan medical technology T'Challa had provided. The portable healing device wrapped around her abdomen monitored both mother and twins. Yes, twins, a detail the Republic's medical droids had missed, with precision beyond anything this galaxy could achieve. "T'Challa," Anakin greeted him, standing with respect that had become genuine friendship over the past weeks. "We were just talking about you. Nothing too embarrassing, I hope," T'Challa replied, with rare humor. "Only about how you saved literally everyone we care about," Padme said, her voice carrying the warmth of someone whose death had been prevented. "The visions Anakin had about me dying, they've stopped completely since you provided your medical technology. How can we ever thank you?" "By building the future you want for your children," T'Challa said simply. "By being the leaders this galaxy needs, a Jedi who understands that emotion strengthens rather than weakens. and a senator who fights for justice not through politics alone, but through genuine care for people. That is thanks enough. The Council has asked me to help reform Jedi training, Anakin said. They want someone who's walked the line between attachment and service, who understands both perspectives. Master Yoda says the next generation of Jedi should be trained not to suppress emotion, but to channel it wisely. That sounds like wisdom, T'Challa approved. And you, Senator, what role will you play in the Republic's reformation? Leading the Committee on Clone Rights and Separatist Reconciliation, Padme replied. It's not glamorous, but it's necessary. If we're going to truly heal the galaxy, we need to address the wounds Palpatine's manipulation created. T'Challa felt his Kimoyo beads pulse, a signal he'd been expecting. The vibranium meteorite that had brought him to this galaxy was activating again, its recall function preparing to return him to his own dimension. Time was running out. There's something I need to tell you both, T'Challa said quietly. The artifact that brought me here is preparing to take me back to my own universe. I have perhaps 12 hours before the dimensional portal opens. Anakin's face fell. You're leaving, but we need you. The Republic is still rebuilding. The Jedi Order is reforming. And you will accomplish all of it without me, T'Challa interrupted gently. Anakin, I intervened during your darkest moment, helped prevent your fall, provided alternatives when you saw none. But I cannot stay forever. This is not my galaxy, not my time. You must forge your own path forward. But you've given us so much, Padme protested. The medical technology, the political wisdom, the military strategies. Knowledge I've already shared with those who can use it, T'Challa confirmed. Master Windu has copies of all my tactical data. The Republic's scientists have studied my vibranium suit and understand its principles, even if they cannot replicate it fully. Senator Organa has my notes on governance and systemic reform. What I brought to this galaxy, I've distributed, so it will outlive my presence. Will we see you again? Anakin asked, his voice carrying the vulnerability of someone who'd found a mentor who actually understood him. I don't know, T'Challa admitted honestly. Dimensional barriers are unpredictable. Perhaps our realities will touch again. Perhaps not. But Anakin, you don't need me. You never did. You needed someone to show you that the path between Jedi restriction and Sith corruption existed. Now you've seen it. Now you walk it. That knowledge doesn't disappear when I do. He turned to Padme. And you, Senator, you have the strength to rebuild this republic into something worthy of the name. The courage to face down corruption, the wisdom to compromise without surrendering principles. Your children will grow up in a galaxy shaped by your choices. Make sure those choices are worthy of them. We will, Padme promised, tears forming in her eyes. We'll name one of them after you, if that would be appropriate. T'Challa felt emotion surge despite his royal training. I would be honored. The next 12 hours were a whirlwind of farewells. T'Challa met with the Jedi Council one final time, offering final wisdom and accepting their gratitude. He trained with Rex and the 501st, teaching them Wakandan combat techniques they could adapt to their own styles. He shared technology schematics with Republic scientists. carefully explaining which principles could be replicated and which required vibranium's unique properties. And finally, as the vibranium meteorite began to pulse with increasing frequency, he stood in the temple's meditation chamber, where this had all begun, surrounded by those who'd become friends rather than just allies. Mace Windu spoke for the council. T'Challa, King of Wakanda, Black Panther, and protector of your people, the Jedi Order owes you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved our order, preserved the Republic, and prevented the Chosen One's fall to darkness. Your wisdom will guide us for generations. And the clone army thanks you, Rex added, standing at attention with dozens of troopers behind him. You gave us citizenship, freed us from our chips, and showed us we're more than weapons. Sir, you gave us futures. The Republic is grateful, Bail Organa said formally, and when historians write of this era, they will remember the warrior king from another reality who changed everything. T'Challa bowed to each group in turn. I did only what honor demanded, what leadership requires. In Wakanda, we say, a king protects all his people. For a brief time, you became my people, and I will carry the memory of this galaxy forever. The meteorite's pulsing reached critical frequency. Reality began to bend around it, dimensional barriers thinning as the recall function activated. T'Challa placed his hand on the artifact's surface, feeling the familiar pull of home calling him back. Anakin, he called out one last time. Remember, fear is not your enemy. It's a warning, a signal that something you value is threatened. How you respond to that fear determines whether you walk in light or darkness. Choose wisely. Choose love over power, wisdom over strength, life over domination. I will, Anakin promised, standing with Padme at his side. I swear on my children's future, I'll be the Jedi the galaxy needs, not the weapon Palpatine tried to forge. Then my work here is complete, T'Challa said. The dimensional portal opened, a swirling vortex of energy that looked like starlight compressed into a doorway. Through it, T'Challa could see Wakanda's research facility, could hear Shuri's voice calling his name, could feel home pulling him back. He stepped toward the portal, then paused and looked back one final time. Wakanda forever, he said quietly. And may the Force be with you, Yoda replied, his ancient voice carrying warmth and respect. T'Challa stepped through the portal, and reality sealed behind him like a wound healing. The vibranium meteorite crumbled to dust, its purpose fulfilled, leaving no evidence of the dimensional bridge except the memories of those who'd witnessed it. Years later, long after the Clone Wars had ended and the Republic had reformed into something stronger and more just, Anakin Skywalker sat in the Jedi Temple's archives, teaching his children about the Force, Luke and Leia, named partially for heroes of the Republic's salvation, partially for the Wakandan king who'd saved their father's soul, listened with the fascination of youth, learning their heritage. So the Black Panther was real? Luke asked, his eyes wide. He really came from another universe and stopped Grandfather Palpatine. He was real, Anakin confirmed, pulling up holographic records of T'Challa's brief time in their galaxy. The images showed a warrior in sleek black armor, moving with impossible grace, fighting alongside Jedi, with honor and wisdom. He taught me that the choice between light and dark isn't binary. that you can be strong without being cruel, attached without being possessive, emotional without being consumed. I wish I could meet him, Leia said wistfully. Learn from him, like you did. You already do, Padme said, entering the archives with the easy confidence of someone who'd spent years rebuilding a government. Every choice your father makes, every decision the Reformed Jedi Council enacts, every law the Republic passes, protecting clone rights and addressing systemic injustice. T'Challa's wisdom guides all of it. He saved us, Anakin said simply, looking at his family with gratitude for a future that almost hadn't existed. Saved me from becoming something monstrous. Saved your mother from a death I'd foreseen. Saved the Jedi from destruction. Saved the Republic from transformation into empire. One man, from another reality entirely, changed everything because he believed redemption was possible and tragedy preventable. Do you think we'll ever see him again? Luke asked. Anakin looked out the archives window at stars that might contain infinite realities, infinite possibilities. I don't know. The Force connects all living things, but dimensional barriers are something else entirely. Maybe our realities will touch again. Maybe they won't. But it doesn't matter. T'Challa's legacy isn't about his presence. It's about the choices he inspired us to make, the wisdom he shared, the proof that even in darkness, light can prevail if we're brave enough to seek it. In the meditation chamber, where Yoda trained the next generation of Jedi, teaching them to embrace healthy attachment, to channel emotion wisely, to be warriors and peacekeepers both. A small statue stood. It depicted a figure in sleek armor, claws extended, standing in a protective stance that spoke of strength dedicated to defense rather than conquest. The plaque beneath read, T'Challa, King of Wakanda, Black Panther and Protector, friend to the Jedi, savior of the Republic, warrior of light. May his wisdom guide us forever. And across the galaxy, in the hearts of those he'd touched, the Wakandan king's legacy lived on, proving that sometimes the greatest heroes are those who arrive from nowhere, change everything, and disappear back into mystery, leaving only wisdom and hope in their wake. Somewhere in another reality, T'Challa stood in Wakanda's throne room, preparing to address his people about the dimensional expedition that had pulled him across realities. He would tell them of a galaxy at war, of heroes who'd lost their way, of a young warrior he'd saved from darkness, and he would remember always that leadership transcends reality, wisdom crosses dimensions, and that a king protects all people, even those in galaxies far, far away. The Force flowed through all things, binding the galaxy together. But some bonds transcended even the Force, connecting hearts across realities through simple truth. That good can triumph over evil, that darkness can be prevented, and that sometimes all it takes is one voice offering alternatives when everyone else demands impossible choices. T'Challa had been that voice, and the galaxy was forever changed because of it. Wakanda forever, and may the Force be with you always.